Free agency is over, the draft is over. Now it's time to really analyze this roster and look at the strengths and weaknesses. Today in this video, we'll be talking about the New York Giants' biggest question marks on the roster right now. Guys, going on 27 squad, welcome back into another video. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this, and let's get started. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the time of year where you really look at your roster, analyze what you have, and predict how well they're gonna do this upcoming season, and look at the strengths and weaknesses of it. Now, Joe Schoen is doing a fantastic job here in his second year as GM, and head coach Brian Daboll as well, but that doesn't mean the roster is perfect and is where we want it right now. There still is a legitimate plethora of questions that I still have about this roster. Now, I'm going to go through every single question, and none of them are really that much more important than the other. No specific order. All right, first up, we got to talk about the wide receiver position. Obviously, that got revamped. That is the biggest position that got revamped in the offseason. Now, the Giants didn't come away with a pure number one receiver, and that kind of adds on to the question, who is going to separate themselves as that number one receiver, as that main target for the Giants in this upcoming season? Because although we really don't have a clear number one guy, there's always someone that separates themselves from the pack. We saw last year Darius Slayton really kind of pick up where he left off in previous seasons after being benched. You know, he wasn't really given a shot with this new regime. They bench him. I mean, he was on the verge of being either cut or traded, as a lot of people said in that beginning of the offseason last year. But he came in a couple of games later and just completely went off and had himself a good season. He still had a little bit of drop issues, but definitely came up strong for us in a plethora of games. Talking about that Green Bay game, the Jacksonville game, he had a lot of really good games that separated himself. And then obviously last year we had the rise of Isaiah Hodgins, picking him up off the practice squad of the Buffalo Bills. Even Bills fans were upset about missing out on that wide receiver in Hodgins, and he came in and filled in great for us. There were some moments in some games where he looked like the number one receiver for the team, but in all realness, he is a number two at best. And the Giants added some talent as well. They added veteran free agents like Jamison Crowder. You got Paris Campbell as well. And then we drafted Jalen Hyatt, the speedster out of Tennessee. Now you have Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson coming back from injury anytime now. We don't really know when the timetable is that both of those guys will see the field again. Sterling Shepard seems to be on a lot better of a track than Wan'Dale right now, just because Sterling got hurt earlier, so obviously that gives a lot more time to heal up, and Wan'Dale Robinson went down somewhere around like November, I believe, the Thanksgiving game. So who is going to separate themselves out of the rest? In my honest opinion, if it's all about who stays healthy. I mean, every single one of these guys, aside from Isaiah Hodgins, have a lot of injury issues. Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Wan'Dale, Paris Campbell has only had one healthy season, and that was last year from, you know, being a NFL wide receiver. Everybody has a chance of getting hurt. Everybody has gotten hurt a number of times on that depth chart for the wide receivers. So I think it's really whoever stays healthy, whoever can play consistently, is going to be looked at as the number one guy. Hopefully that can be, you know, our homegrown guy in Darius Slayton, who is the highest paid receiver we have right now. All right, the next question is Saquon Barkley, and are we going to see Saquon Barkley this upcoming season with him holding out and such? There's a lot to go on, and I'm not really that invested in all these talks, because honestly, he's going to play. In my opinion, he is going to play this season on that tag. Now, it's all a matter of, will he be on the tag next season? Will he force himself to walk? Or are they going to get a deal done? I think next year is the big question. I think Saquon Barkley plays on the tag this year, but there are a bunch of Twitter talks, a bunch of rumors going around that he declined a $14 million per year offer, and he wants 16, and I guess his agent came out and responded to like a random tweet. Not to say the person is random, but like just out of nowhere, out of left field, that a lot of people talk on Giants Twitter, and for his agent just come out and say that's not true on some person's Twitter. I don't know what's going on right now with Saquon Barkley and his agent and the contract talks or anything like that, but I have faith they're going to get it done. or if it's too high, they'll just cut it loose and walk. But I think Saquon Barkley plays on the tag this year, really tries to prove himself, and maybe he tries to earn himself a $14 million per year contract or even higher. I don't know how that's going to go, but I think the Giants are going to have Saquon Barkley available this season. Now, we did draft Eric Gray this season out of Oklahoma, and I like him a lot. I think he can fill in fine, and if Saquon Barkley somehow, some way is not playing this season and decides to hold out, like pull off a Le'Veon Bell or something like that, I think Eric Gray and Matt Breida, the duo there, will be fine for us and will suffice, because I see us being more of a pass-happy team than a run team in this season, as opposed to last year. All right, and the last question from the offense that I have is, who starts at left guard? Who does it? I think the better option right now is probably Ben Bredeson, the veteran, and he probably was the best at guard last year on that left side. But Josh Azudu, who you drafted with the 3rd round pick last year, he has a lot of versatility. He has a lot of upside. Is it worth letting him trying to play and, get accustomed to things and actually invest in your draft pick, or should you have the slight upgrade in Ben Bredeson? In my honest opinion, I don't know yet. I really want to see what the Giants do in the training camp, in the preseason, and who starts, who sits, and how the rotation goes, because we've seen that guard position be rotated time and time again, even in the middle of games. So that's going to be a big camp battle there, is from Josh Azudu and Ben Bredeson. And obviously we have that center position locked up with JMS there. So I think the big question there is that left guard position. All right, moving on to the defensive side of the football, we have the inside linebacker position. This is a clear weakness that we do have on the defense. Now, our defensive line is absolutely stacked. We have a lot of good starters, some decent depth as well, bringing in Nacho and bringing in A'Shawn Robinson as well to come in on those 3 defensive tackles base sets that we have with Leo, Dex, and A'Shawn Robinson. That's going to be a nasty trio, by the way. But and then we have the back half, the secondary, which we'll get into later. But the clear weakness there is the inside linebacking crew. The projected starters right now is Bobby Okereke, who obviously is our free agent pickup, probably the biggest free agent pickup that we acquired, and I'm extremely excited about him. And we'll see what happens there, but he is the clear starter there, right? He's the guy that's going to be there pretty much all 3 downs. But who's going to be there beside him? Now, the Giants do like to mix in a lot of 3, even 4 safety sets. We may not even see a good mix of 2 linebackers on the field the majority of the time, but we run a 3-4 defense. You are going to have situations where you have 2 linebackers on the field, and we're probably going to have it more often than you think. So who's going to start beside of Bobby Okereke? I think the projected starter right now is Jarrad Davis. He came in last year. As much as a lot of people hate Jarrad Davis, he played fine for us when he got signed with us. He's not a terrible linebacker. I don't know where you guys are watching your film from. He's not terrible. He's not good, but he's not terrible. He's probably the best linebacker we have beside Bobby Okereke. But the thing is, Jarrad Davis cannot play a full season. He can't even play a half a season. He cannot stay healthy. So I know inevitably somebody's going to have to step into that role. Now, whether it be the player who just came off of injury reserve and Darian Beavers, who a lot of people were very excited about, or maybe Micah McFadden steps into that role as the starter. He had a lot of good reps last season. Now, he wasn't as consistent as I would have liked him to be, because I'm a huge Micah McFadden guy, but he did make a lot of plays out there, and it's hard to ignore when you watch on film how Micah McFadden affects sometimes the run game and even the pass game as well. But Darian Beavers coming back, that's going to be a competition. But Jarrad Davis is the projected starter for me, but I don't think he's going to stay healthy to play a full season there. Now, a name to look out for. One of our undrafted free agent linebackers, Troy Brown out of Ole Miss, spent the majority of his collegiate career at Central Michigan. But watch this guy and how he attacks the ball carry, how he attacks gaps. He plays very well in pass coverage as well. This guy could be a dark horse to find a way onto this roster. And man, I mean, just look out for him. I don't think he's going to start over. He's going to leapfrog everybody, but you may see him a couple of times if he makes the roster. But watch out for him as well. All right, moving back in the defense, we've got the cornerback position. Now, how is the rotation going to look at cornerback? We had a lot of corners. Like, a lot of these guys, not a lot of them, but we may see some surprise cuts from that cornerback group. Okay, we have a lot of guys there. If we pull it up real quick, I mean, we just drafted Deonte Banks. In my opinion, he is going to start. Now, we also got a guy in Amani Oruwariye, who is a veteran in the league, played with the Detroit Lions, and has had a pretty decent career up to this point. Not as consistent, but a pretty decent career up to this point. Had a season where he had 5 interceptions. And then, obviously, you have your third-round pick last year in Cordell Flott. We still have Darnay Holmes there in the nickel. There's a lot of different moving pieces here. Aaron Robinson is coming off of injury, and we still have Adoree Jackson as well. There is so much talent, or so much guys on this roster right now. We also got Leonard Johnson, who we picked up, who never played. He was like a free agent last year. He was hurt, so he never got signed. So we signed him for 3 years. Rodarius Williams, we don't know what's happening with him. We drafted Trey Hawkins. I mean, we still have Nick McLeod and Zion Gilbert. I mean, it is all over the place. If you look at the cornerback group for the Giants, I mean, there's going to be some good, decent talent that a lot of people would consider as good depth. We probably are going to wind up cutting guys like that. I think a surprise cut, in my honest opinion, a surprise cut could be starting nickel corner for the past 3 years, Darnay Holmes. I think he can be a guy that may well be cut. If Cordell Flott can play well in training camp, play well in the preseason. I know a lot of people don't like Flott in the slot. Shout out to Diggy. He says he doesn't really envision Flott being a slot corner, but if you try to find any way to get your best defensive backs on the field, Cordell Flott may have to play the slot position because you have Deonte Banks there. He might be like rotating reps with Amani Oruwariye, or maybe Oruwariye finds himself being cut. Who knows? But Deonte Banks is going to play, and I believe he is going to start beside Adoree Jackson on both boundary corner spots. And then the slot position, we'll see what happens with that. If they envision Flott being more of the future than Darnay Holmes, because Darnay Holmes is going into, I believe, his 4th year with the Giants, and he's coming up on his contract, the 3rd or 4th year. He's going into his 4th year, I believe so. Let's see, Darnay Holmes, this is his 4th season with the Giants, so this is his last year under contract. So we'll see what happens with that. He might be a surprise cut because he's on the last year of his deal. Maybe they want to move on with Flott. Who knows? But that is a big question going into the training camp and preseason days. And then the same thing with the safety position. Now, I was talking to Diggy on Twitter. I mentioned this in a video prior. We were talking about the safety position and Xavier McKinney and who's going to rotate, who's going to be that single high, who's going to play free safety. And I think it's no debate that Xavier McKinney is the best safety on the roster and best strong safety and the best free safety. But unfortunately, we've got to put him at one spot. He can play all over the place, but the Giants want to have some continuity there. They're probably going to have Xavier McKinney playing the same position he played last year, and that was at strong safety. Now, we had 2 strong safeties a lot of times last year, messing around with 3 safety sets, which Wink Martindale likes to do. So you're going to see a lot of 2 strong safeties, 1 free safety, single high, right? And you're going to see Xavier McKinney guarding that tight end or running back there, probably manning up on him or just playing on that side, strong side. And then who knows who you're going to have beside him. Last year, it was Julian Love. This may be a Dane Belton thing now. And our mission right now is to find who is that free safety, who is that single high safety, because the Giants really don't have any on there. The Giants signed Bobby McCain in free agency, and he's probably the guy that's going to be starting there. And he's a veteran guy. He's 29 years old. He's had some success in the league, going back with the Washington football team and Commanders, and the Miami Dolphins as well, playing kind of a hybrid cornerback safety sort of thing. So he might even play in the slot. Who knows? But there's that. And you also have Trenton Thompson, who I don't envision really doing anything. Jason Pinnock, who we got last year, who had some playing time, unfortunately went out with an injury as well and wound up, not seeing the rest of the season. But he's a guy that may play free safety. He has played free safety for us when Dane Belton got benched because he was playing free safety, which I don't blame Dane Belton that much because he's not a free safety. We're throwing strong safeties, guys that play closer to the line, playing in the box, playing that run, and we're throwing those guys back and playing single high safety. It's just not easy to do. And I don't like Dane Belton there at free safety. I think he should stick to that Julian Love role. Now that Julian Love is gone, Dane Belton should fit in there just fine. We got to find our free safety. I think a big guy to kind of look at is either Javarius Owens, who we drafted with our final pick in the draft. He's a guy, he can't tackle for life. I mean, he can't, but we drafted him. We may see something in him, and maybe he plays at free safety. I don't know if he's really going to beat out Jason Pinnock, but a guy to really look at is Washington safety, who we drafted, who we made an undrafted free agent signing with, and that is Alex Cook, the Washington safety. I mean, Washington defensive backs have a really good feel of the field. They play a lot of quarters, a lot of cover three, a lot of single high. He has a lot of experience at single high. They understand coverages very well at Washington because they play a lot of soft zone coverage, so they are forced to anticipate route breaks, anticipate route concepts. They are pretty smart. You go back the list of Washington defensive backs that played in that system and how successful they are in the league now, you could see why I like Washington defensive backs. So Alex Cook is a guy to look at, and maybe he could be a guy that can fit in, that can make the roster out of pure necessity, that we don't really have a clear-cut free safety on the roster. So that is the top questions I have for the New York Giants roster. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you guys have any questions, any concerns about this roster as it stands right now, make sure you guys leave it in the comment section below. And be looking, I'm going to be announcing something soon, guys. I hope it works out, but it's pretty exciting. I got some news. I got an email about a potential collaboration, and I'm extremely excited. So make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video, maybe in the announcement. Later.